But it's the same problem in the UK that you get in the US, right? Is that there's infighting amongst the conservatives, right? They can't seem to pick anybody. They disagree. The left, Labour, is consolidated comparatively. So despite how bad things get, people will just vote for what they've always voted for, and the left is consolidated. There's no infighting. There's no. I mean, the stuff that happened with Liz Truss was embarrassing. It was absolutely shameful. That she how long was she in
50
for?
50 days.
Like 50 days. That's embarrassing. It looks bad. It looks like a stain on it.
Much like Trump in 2020.
Right. Well, right. Exactly. Trying to get people to not want to vote conservative.
Legitimate means to delegitimize an entire side. Yes.
But the part of it is also the infighting. And the reason I think that is because, again, people who tend to lean conservative have actual ideals. People who lean left do not. They are power politics first and foremost and only. Power politics, nothing else matters. Only thing that matters is that we win.
I'm not sure if that's true, but what is happening today is that the people that lean left are either genuine socialists, propagandized to, or uninterested in any kind of like change.
Sure, yeah.
And they're like desperate to keep things stable, but of course what they're voting for is the very thing making them unstable. They don't realize it. Again, propagandized. So the voters are not power politics, but many of the politicians on the left are. You're correct on that, if not most, if not almost all. On the right, as you say, there are people with genuine ideals, the popular conservatives, who actually want to make the country a better place. And I believe many of our leaders and people like Trump, people like Carrie Lake in the US also do actually want to make their countries a better place for the people who support them, regardless how much they personally get out of it, which is very good.
Right.
There are people like that.
Fascinatingly, it was something I came across when I was reading Claudine Gay's CV, completely embarrassed former president of Harvard. One of the things that she found in some of her data, which they weren't her data, she stole them from somebody else, but still, was that conservatives, when they get into power, will do, in the US, in places like even California, will do things that their constituents ask them to do. It's like, this is what I ran on, this is what people want me to do, I'll go do it. Leftists don't. They just go do whatever the hell they want. And she had to publish that in her own research, and then she has to explain, blah, blah, here's why that is people don't really understand what they want, which I would agree with, but it's hilarious.
True, yeah. That's sometimes true.
Yes, that she had to explain that, but that appears to be, in the data that I've seen, to be the case. Leftists just do whatever the hell they want once they get into power, and then say, well, this is what you want. It's what you want. It's all a bunch of gaslighting,
I expect that that's also true of a lot of rhinos and chinos, conservatives and name owners.
Sure.
So it's not so much left and right, though of course it's strongly correlated with the left these days. But that's because the right is changing. And that's part of what I'm seeing as positive, potentially in the next year in the UK. Ziffos says, Uzalu still not getting that reform will not be allowed to do anything. If they get close, they will be mistrust. Eventually, our opponents just won't be able to do that anymore. And maybe this is the time. Yeah. These things change.
Why?
Things change over time. And the momentum is clearly with our side. It's all across the world. The momentum is with our side, all across the Western world anyway. And with the US, with Trump being even more popular this year than he was last year, unless the Democrats managed to rig it 3 times harder, and given how loud it was last time and given how aware we are this time, I don't see a path for them to win in the US. And if Trump's in power, then there's going to be a lot less resistance from the political class over here to the right gaining more power.
I'm curious as to why you think that when they just flex their power and they're trying to put him in jail, and they've made it clear that they have no compunctions.
They're not doing very well. But even if they do put him in jail, it's not going to be the end of it. They thought Jan 6th was the end of it. They thought he wouldn't get in the first place. I don't think that they.
2016 was they didn't think he actually had a shot. They thought that it was a joke. And they screwed up. 2020, they were like, nope, we're not allowed to. We're not doing this anymore. We are stopping this right now.
They thought they would delete him in 2020 with Jan 6th, and with the election, they thought that would delete him, but they failed. Same thing with all of these court cases right now that he's going through. Those that reach a conclusion are going Trump's way.
I don't think they'll give up.
Even the $450 million fine, Trump has recently found a massive source of income. He's taking Truth Social public, so he can easily find the bond the 10% bond for that.
Yeah, that's
and then
just
it's very
money in
likely
Truth Social, basically. Yeah.
very likely that it won't stand an appeal. So even those court cases from corrupt New York and whatever else, I think that they would like them to go to the point of putting Trump in prison, but I don't think they're going to be able to, because there are other courts, and the Supreme Court is not too badly biased. It's granted, it's failed a lot in the past, but it's just not quite badly enough biased for them to get what they want out of it. So that's quite aside from the practical. The archetypal changes I'm seeing right now are exactly in line with what I'd expect from a species that changes in the way that ours has in history, the way that Orwell described in 1984, the way that other systems evolutionarily do as well. So I think it's inevitable that our side will win in all of these countries, but the pain that we'll have to go through to get to that first is the variable.
The left controls, in the United States, for example, controls every single alphabet agency. They control, largely besides now Twitter, social media. They have an extraordinary amount of power. Excuse me. My fear, and I don't think it's an unfounded fear, that they'll just be like, deal with it. They'll just be like, nope, Biden wins again. We don't care how obvious it is that we steal, because what are you going to do about it?
Mm.
And Joe Biden said this. You want to protest against the government? We've got a bunch of jets and tanks. You want to protest against the government? We'll kill you. That's what he was saying implicitly. Let's be clear.
And
if you protest against the federal government, I will kill you.
Yeah. If they want civil war, then they can go for it. It won't work out well for them at all. Most of the military will disobey them, and most of the people will not fall. But I think they know that. I think they know, and the reason that they have pursued legitimacy rather than mere power, but they've pursued legitimacy, is because they need people to believe that they are in charge. It's not real legitimacy. But
it's a facade of legitimacy.
Exactly. They want people to believe they are legitimate, which is why they replaced the institutions. They inserted themselves into existing ones. It's why they don't make their own stuff. They replace existing stuff. It's because it's sabotage and stealing legitimacy, trying to destroy things from within. And so their strategy, their entire strategy is so dependent upon that, and that is failing, that if they go the military route, they'll have nothing, no setup to do it. The only thing that I've seen that they've been trying to do for that is trying to fill the military with leftists and get rid of all the right wingers from the military with all the vax mandate stuff, and
it's not working.
Even that's not working very well. So.
Oh, really? You think some fat transgender queer activist wants to join the U.S. Army and have to, I don't know, do push-ups? Now, of course, they're trying to get rid of there's a catch-22 on that one. Do you want the military to be able to do what a military is supposed to do? Well, then you don't want that person involved, those people involved, because they can't be, because they're useless eaters by their own definition. Well, or do you want the military to be able to actually act as a military should and do your bidding, in which case you need to recruit young white men who you openly say that you hate. Exactly. Openly say that you hate.
I think our military, or at least in this case the US military, has it is long past the time that they would, if called upon, do the establishment's bidding en masse to create a dystopia, like a full-on one.
Probably.
Right now, they are standing by to let the people.
You're correct.
Yeah, I think so. To let the people solve the problem themselves. But if Biden announced that these states are in recalcitrant, if he said that Texas is now an enemy of the United States and we are going to invade,
he's
not
close
only
to saying
the Texas local military, but a decent portion of the entire US military, perhaps almost all of it, would just say no and would just arrest Biden on the spot. Like, that kind of thing could happen. If they push, it would be so based. If they push their hand too far, if they give up their position of perceived legitimacy and try and go for a different strategy, they are just going to fail immediately. And the walls are closing in around that perceived legitimacy as well. The majority of the US believe that there were massive election irregularities in 2020, depending on which poll you use. And certainly the vast majority of the conservatives do. And in 2024, Trump is more popular than he was in 2020. Biden is less popular than he was in 2020. And we're aware of the rigging. And there's even a lot of states have implemented policies to prevent rigging, though some places have got worse, but mostly blue states, which were going to go blue anyway because of the rigging. So everything is looking pretty good for the US right now.
Outside of Arizona, Arizona is the one where it's been really
Yeah, Arizona's
it worked.
pretty bad with cartel involvement and stuff. That one I don't be able to do much about. But you don't necessarily need every state because the thing is, Trump's legitimate votes could outdo the Democrats' best possible rigging.
Yeah, well, I suppose so. I think that the big difference is in terms of how people vote, right? And what the Democrats get confused by is that the Democrats run entirely on propaganda, right? They will tell you that it's raining, it's hailing or raining shit, and they'll tell you that it's a sunny day outside. That's what they've done with the economy. Oh, it's the best economy of all time under
Indeed.
Biden. Well, people can feel that in their wallets, right? That it's not the best economy of all time.
Yeah, and
but
they could
keep
under
telling
Trump
you
that it was better.
Yeah, they knew it under Trump. They could feel it because the people who run the Democrat Party are all a bunch of coastal elitists who they don't feel any kind of economic strain from any of this because they're all extremely rich. So they're like, I don't understand what the plebs are upset about. Just tell them the economy's fine. They'll believe it. I think they may have miscalculated in that one. Yeah, you might be right. They've miscalculated in how much people, well, you can look at the polls on how much people believe the media. It's in the absolute toilet. Yeah. No one, even the left, doesn't believe it now.
I think there's a strategy that's in I can't remember who it was said this. It might have been something like Genghis Khan, but some great military leader in the past, maybe it was Sun Tzu actually, said that their strategy, the correct strategy for military dominance or for destroying an enemy is slow, fast, fast. You set up, you take your time and set things up, and then you fall like a thunderbolt. And I think what our enemy has done, they got the slow dead on. And that's been really bad because they took over all the institutions of the West. They found ways to, in every nation, and in my nation differently than in the US, they found ways to take control of the wheels and the cogs and the machinery of government. Even if they didn't take control of every part of it, they had the power. That was the slow bit. But now, their only chance was to try and find an opportunity for a fast, but there wasn't one because they relied completely on slow methods, which is what democracy is. It does not encourage instant or rapid change. It encourages gradual and consensual change. And so
they got a whole bunch of shit ran in real quickly there through that COVID stuff.
Yeah, that's the closest they got, but it wasn't enough because by that time people were already starting to doubt them. Because if they had dropped the thunderbolt in like 2015 before Trump got in, if there even was a thunderbolt to drop, which that's the thing, I don't think there was, then maybe they could have done it. But without that, they've now just been waiting too long. People have got too wise to it. People have learned by living through it what the problem is, where it's coming from, and who to support in response. And I think it's just too late for them now. I think they've waited too long. They didn't find an opportunity to just take the win, and then they've waited too long. And so what's going to happen now is an aggressive flushing of their bullshit from society over the next few decades.
I mean, it needs to be. It is so obviously prima facie evident that the left is a cancerous tumor upon any society in which it allows itself to grow. I'm not saying people can't have left-leaning ideas, obviously, but this progressive march through the institutions, this progressive march through history, because it is inherently Hegelian and inherently, Gnostic, that I said the word, it never ends. It always has to more and more deconstruction of everything forever and ever until you can defeat the Leviathan and escape the Pleroma or whatever the same bullshit they believe is.
Some of them do believe that shit as well. It is very much a cancer. Because it's manipulating systems or people or sentiment that was supposed to be beneficial and turning it against the system within it. Compassion is one of those. Compassion is one of the hallmarks of the West, and it's been turned against us by this cancer. But the chemo is here, and it can succeed. I think the cancer's already in remission. We just can't necessarily tell in every way yet. It's just not obvious. But I think it's already on the way out.